Age of Mythology, Retold, Immortal Pillars. I've played Age of Mythology, Extended Edition back-to-back with Age of Mythology, Retold and Age of Mythology. My plan was to play the missions of the Chinese campaigns back-to-back too. For that end I sat on Age of Mythology, Extended Edition with just one missing achievement all this time. But when the DLC has finally came out, I finished the first mission of Tale of the Dragon, launched the first mission of Immortal Pillars, and they literally made it all entirely from scratch. Even the civilization is different. The core gameplay of Gardens, where you have to choose between mana or resources, is gone. To describe the new Civ, all I can say is generic. There is only one actually meaningful mechanic for the Civ. It's the new mana generation, which you can basically describe as Atlantean oracles but buildings, or AoE 4 Abbasids but mana, or StarCraft Zerg creep, but not really, or perimeter, or creeper world. All buildings generate mana in a radius as long as radiuses touch tips with a network of radiuses connected to a fortress or a town center. Just like Norse Chinese have a secondary peasant. Gigachads gather wood, gold, and build buildings better than peasants. They are not really necessary, or more like, it's not necessarily a choice, especially with how they take up 3 slots. Either one is as good as 3 peasants, and then you can just have 3 peasants. Or one is worse than 3 peasants and you just wasted your tiny pop cap. Or one is better than 3 peasants, so you have to make them. They are pretty strong and have a decent ranged attack, but just like Atlantean hero peasants, their AI is useless. They can squash human soldiers in seconds, but instead they panic and run around. And the game even demands that you use them as soldiers for an achievement. Barracks 1 and Barracks 2 can have one of 2 add-ons installed into them, like StarCraft or Supreme Commander 2. Your choice is between a weak tower and a drum increasing birth rate. If you change your mind, both Barracks 1 and Barracks 2 can go through an add-on replacement transition, and the devs added more stupid meat bags clutter. I literally have nothing to say about the new human units. In this game, human soldiers exist only to be bullied by myth units. This is not Age of Humanity. It's Age of Mythology.
诸葛弩
is called Chukeo Nu in this age, when everyone now knows that Chuko/Juga is a name and must be written together. The rocket spears, which are pretty memorable in battle realms, are replaced with a generic archer model. The generic ballista based on a traction trebuchet is replaced with the triple bow engine, which can be considered an improvement. But they suck all balls. The pathfinding is cancer. You press attack, and they just stand in one place. You press attack move and half of them still stands in one place. Then you got a ram, looking like a damn joke from a cartoon. Why do you need 3 siege units in a game about mythical unit? The heroic selection is pretty faceless. Greece has named heroes, Egypt uses monks, Norse have hero warriors, China has all 3. Now you have named heroes tied to gods, and healing monks, and any number of the original warriors who are also acting as scouts. They got the hot air balloon ability from AoE 3, and you can upgrade it to be better. The monks are not good at healing or combat, but they create clones of enemy myth unit, which is pointless. Out of 5 monks you get only 1 clone, and then it dies in seconds without doing anything. It'd be better if it had a lot of HP, longer timer, but dealt significantly less damage than the original. That way it could tank, and at least be seen on the battlefield, instead of being created and instantly expiring. The big difference between the gods is the stupid clock.
伏羲
offers 2 bonuses that swap periodically.
女娲
offers to lower the price of peasants in buildings when you reach post-imperial age and hit the cap for the peasants in buildings. But if you don't like spreading your creep and gaining more mana, you can place foundations on creep, and they will auto-complete.
神农
offers free mythicals above your age, and above the pop cap. No, there are no buts. I expect a significant nerf. The original Titan was thematic. The Titans came before gods, so
盘古
fits perfectly. The new Titan is a generic faceless guy, just a guy. The spells on offer are Egyptian meteor, rain but permanent, and serpents but sick, Norse Nidhogg and flaming weapons, and a new apocalypse spell that wipes away the trees. The last one looks so fun that I expect it to be nerfed to death soon. People complained about it in the original. What will stop them now? The myth units aren't super exciting, especially with how a half of them look the same from up high. And the campaign is short and unfocused, so I didn't have time to see them shine. It's the same as with Atlantis, but at least you get to play with all 3 major gods. Tier 1 is a selection of dogs. Tier 2 is a selection of gorillas. For the dessert you are offered to choose between death from above, death from above and double butts.
麒麟
Is a weak healer.
貔貅
Is a trader requiring 1 population and with no limit. You can have 60 traders and 120
貔貅
on top of that. There are some other changes I've noticed. In Skirmish there are neutral markets, from AoE 3 generating resources to the player who flagged them. The pandas are added, but you can't eat them. You can eat other bears. Shitanki panda terrorism in action, all in the name of invading Taiwan. The pathfinding got even worse since AOTG. There's a new Dumbars game mode, and it's just a stupid skirmish daily grind for nothing. As was foretold, the FOMification has begun with limited time events. The campaign is 9 shortish missions long. I've heard people bitching about Tale of the Dragon, and if they will start praising this crap, you can just disregard anything they say in their life. If they say 2 times 2 is equal to 4, you must find proof for yourself and recalculate it from scratch. The story is opening with an intro, and it is already so damn worse written than the Tot D intro. Like, every sentence is painfully bad. The story is bad, and it can't even hide behind being an adaptation of some ancient Chinese secret. It's a new made-up story. Shinung's Chosen is a tactical useless mission. Tactical maps are okay when it's to support a good story, but with this pathetic story it sucks. The first mission of Tot D is a proper RTS mission. Hoi's Pride is restricted to 2nd Age and asks you to destroy a lot of buildings with no real siege units or blacksmith upgrades. Stronger Together is an introduction of big guys. Kill the enemies. The God Trap is a simple tactical map. Follow the route. Gather the free units. Overcoming Fixations opens with a stupid choice between 2 cities. The path not taken doesn't become an isolated neutral village eating all those delicious resources. Instead, it gets annihilated off-screen. So you take your peasants and get a free 2nd city with all those free resources for free of charge. You can build a wonder and play with your myth units, which are also generated for free in this map. Reality's Collapse has an achievement that asks you to fast run it in like 10 minutes or so. So, I have nothing to say about the mission. I've built a transport, summoned the Age for Chinese knockoff of a Nidhogg and walked towards the goal. And it was all for nothing. The cutscene says, Sight. Shattered Underworlds is a tactical map, offering a bit of every gimmick. Dunno. It's probably fine. Divine Intervention asks you to defend a little while you build a wonder. Annihilating the enemies doesn't win the map. Duel of the Deathless opens with fan fiction about the characters from the original game who are entirely unrelated to this story. Having a pointless cameo of them in the Mission 7 is one thing, but forcing them without a lube into this sandpaper hole, just to copy the endings of Fall of the Trident and Warcraft 3, is crap. Boo, get new material. The red base has a city you can't build over. My stupid Titan got stuck inside the gate and couldn't get up. Good thing you can win the map by attacking red early. Before I could get sad about my Titan being stuck, my army attack move killed the final boss already. Also, the optional objective is bugged or whatever. It was never considered to be done. The last cutscene sucks. What a bad story, what a bad plot, what a bad storytelling. When you can't just copy from the great, making your own campaign isn't as easy as disparaging the one you are trying to replace, innit? The achievements are dull. The ones for optional objectives are okay. The rest are for using units or grinding. It asks you to build 300 buildings with add-ons. Now that's deranged. Or you can make 30 buildings and swap the add-ons 10 times in a skirmish with giant amounts of starting resources. The achievements that mention victory do not count campaign maps as a victory, so don't waste your time dragging the maps for hours just to get those. The Chilan achievement is bugged and doesn't unlock in skirmish. It only counts kills in the campaign map for, well, let's pretend Tot D never existed. What you get in this DLC is a new civilization and a short new campaign. You even get to play with all 3 major gods. More content is not less content. But Tot D does exist, and this is less content. You have to buy both games and both DLCs to get all the content. Age of Mythology, Extended Edition, Tale of the Dragon. The new civilization has a universal resource drop-off building and a new unique building. Your mana can be generated only by gardens, which also can slowly generate all other resources. The build limit is 10, so you can have a lot of early game micro switching between the resources, instead of just rushing to Age 2 as soon as possible. And of course you have additional wall upgrades. Thankfully, you have only 1 soldier and only 1 archer. But the archer is called Chu Ko Nu, despite being a remade Gastrofitoros model. It's not repeating or any fun. And there are mentions that at the beginning it at least was shooting 2 bolts at once. Zhuganu have awesome animations in AoE 2, Here they use the same early 3D RTS slow-flying whole logs for arrows, and they don't even have a fast fire rate. Then you have whole 4 cavalry units, or 5, if you include the general. The war chariot uses javelins with many spares, but it's a melee unit. Because of its size, they are bumping butts and struggle to fit through corridors. And they didn't change the Greek helmet's icons for the castle unit's upgrades. At least you have the rocket spears, a decent siege/archer unit. For heroes, they have universal soldiers, a limited number of medium-strength melee guys that switch for ranged against flying enemies. There are also monks that can heal, but since they supposedly can convert some units sometimes, they are absolutely terrible at combat. You tell them to attack the mythical target, and they start chanting instead. But they can't steal mythicals, and they can't convert at all in most situations. For mythicals, there are some expected units like jumping zombies, menkeys, cheilants, even terracotta warriors. But some units are wacky like the salamander and tiger. Amassing salamanders can be interesting on water map since they can traverse both land and sea. So can the tier 4 azure dragons. The vermilion bird is different from other flyers. Instead of a direct attack, they are casting a dot spell targeting the location. So instead of tanking the towers, they can approach, cast the spells, and fly away, receiving less damage. But that makes them less effective against the ground targets, which just walk away from the spells. One of the final spells is a ground dragon, a head sticking out of the ground attacking units it can reach. It can't reach archers. The add-on also adds new maps, new map size, jade skin for gold, new types of trees, and multiple huntable animals, including the delicious pandas. There are also additional units for existing factions. The Greeks got a healer hero. Good. Egypt got another melee soldier. Not too useful, but them having stupid axes instead of capuches was madness. Norse got an anti-mythical archer, a situational but good addition. Atlanteans got another siege unit. The stupid YouTubers primed me to dislike the new campaign just because they said so. But then I launched it and it's alright. Then I finished the entire Pillars campaign and finished the Dragon campaign. And Dragon is way superior. Not only with its much better maps and goals, but even the writing is better. Because the writing in Pillars is very bad. The cutscenes are unskippable, though. Tale of the Dragon. The story is minimal, but decent, which is already superior to Pillars. But the storytelling is also minimal. So if you don't pay your full attention, you can miss it. Over-explanation in movies is bad because you watch 75 minutes in one sitting. In games you can easily spend an hour or two between the cutscenes, so a more verbose affirmative writing is better. Instead of saying, "Oh, no, it's John Johnson," it should have said, "Oh, no, it's the Emperor's son John Johnson." Why Emperor's son John Johnson would obstruct us following the Emperor's order, which is to investigate this here. To recap, the misfortune and disasters strike China. The emperor sends 2 guys to investigate and to help with the relief effort. One guy is his trusty general, the other is his son. The general reaches one of the disaster zones and oversees the cleanup. They treated it like a natural disaster, but they were attacked by the hell lizards. After finishing the job in this location, the general decided to travel west and to consult with the local sage about the hell lizards. When they arrive in the area, they discover that it's under control of a hostile state, so they fight their way to the sage's home. When they finally arrive there, the home magically blows up, and there is a magic hole in its place. So, the general with his army started searching for the sage in hopes that he wasn't at home. After some time, they discovered a location with more of those magic holes and a monk doing shady chants over them. After gathering an army and apprehending the monk says that he is the sage they were looking for, and that the emperor's son ordered him to dig out the earthworm gem. After which the emperor's son's army attacks the general, and they cannot flee or retreat, because there's no way. The general and the sage decided to dig out the earthworm gem for themselves to survive. When the earthworm gem is summoned, he explains to the general's forces how to reach the underworld where they can ask Satan why the hell is even happening. The general and his army arrives to the nearest gates of hell, but the emperor's son demands them to turn back or be annihilated. After killing a lot of emperor's men in a civil fight between 2 commanders, the general finally goes to hell. Satan refuses to answer to the general's answers. So, the general decides to go medieval China on Satan's arse and takes over Satan's cities. To stop this mindless aggression, Satan gives up and explains that the chaos in China is the result of an imbalance between yin and yang, and that the general should go ask Pingu to restore it. The general's army exits through another exit and arrives in a destroyed province with cities ravaged by lucky dragons. The general helps the cities to rebuild and travels overseas to the king of lucky dragons to cough over the questions about his actions. There they discover that the king of lucky dragons was imprisoned, and it was all the fault of chaos. After freeing the king of lucky dragons, the king reveals the way how to reach the jungle near Pingu. After some time, the general arrives in the jungle. Then the king bird offers him to help find Pingu in exchange for freeing other birds from the forces of chaos. After the deal is done, King Bird explains how to reach Pingu. The emperor's son is eavesdropping and wants to reach Pingu too. The Pingu's altar is surrounded by the forces of chaos, and the emperor's son is here with his army. So, the general clears out the altar, defends it from all the demons of all hells while the peasants are repairing it, and then Pingu restores the balance between yin and yang. The emperor's son runs to the general with congratulations, probably trying to say that he just got a little chaos in his ear, and he cannot be responsible. But the general promises to rat the emperor's son out. If you open the credits, none of these voice actors look Chinese, and they make that crappy accent Yanks do in Hollywood movies. The Retold hides its credits outright. I didn't find out who were playing Retold's accents, and accents are idiotic anyway. People speak in their own languages without accents, so either use real actors with subtitles, or use English as a perfect stand-in. No stupid accents. Stupid accents mean all the characters speak English at home to each other, and they are doing this stupid thing by replacing L with R. This is China, it's not Japan. China has plenty of L. Did you forget about
丽媛朋永清流少其流
or even
先念里
with
加梅林?
Rising Waters is a typical defend the building site proper RTS map, which is already better than the tactical attack move map in Pillars. You need to build a dam while defending against scalies. You are limited by Age 3. The map introduces the gardens as a mechanic. You can find relics, but there's no temple to put them in. There's a city on the other shore. To the west is a properly impressive map. It starts with a tactical part where you actually have to play. You have to engage with the mechanics instead of just attack move for the win. Then you get peasants and a choice. Build a base, train an army, and attack the enemy's front door. Or do a side quest and rush the enemy's TC through a back door. Now that's some good map design. Though it didn't render the boulders blocking the way, and I destroyed the mountain temple before the cut scene, so that looked weird too. From below asks you to apprehend the monk. It's one of those the longer you wait the harder it gets maps, so you have to get an army fast. The starting force is not enough to speed run the map, at least not for an average player. There are shortcuts and side paths to take. Trapped is another defend the building site map, and you actually have to defend the guy instead of letting him tank some damage. There are 2 cities on the side. You can encounter Easter eggs when playing on the hardest. Confrontation. Speaking of tactical maps, now this is tactical. Not some party RPG squad scale, but the scale of a small total war battle. I remember seeing something like this only once in the series, in an opening to a Rise of the Rajas map. It's a pretty short map. The goal is to kill 120 Emperor's soldiers with your Emperor's soldiers. There are 2 traps designed around kiting. The Realm of the Dead is an Age 4 normal RTS map. Get an army and defeat 3 enemies. The gate to the Chinese underworld is distinctly Egyptian. If they didn't want to make a new building model, at least could have used the boring Greek gate. This game is still published by the Microsoft Corporation. The Water Palace wants you to build 3 cities, then defend them, then counterattack with an amphibian force or by making a naval landing. The transport ships are unavailable until you trigger a script. To get a market in Age 4 you need to complete a small side quest with a puzzle. I chose Tsunami, and for fun washed the King Dragon into the sea, since there's no fog of war around it. A Way Out is an Age 3 forest labyrinth that periodically gives you forest fires. You can free transport and attack birds, but the last base is protected by an anti-air scripted magic. But as an Age 3 map, where you don't pick your gods, it's not like you have a lot of birds. Yin and Yang is a protect the building site map, but also, it has its own ideas. There's the green enemy on the right. The giant spiral mountain is leading to the altar. First you need to deal with green, then fortify the mountain entrances, because the tents are giving you additional pop and you can't rebuild them. Now's your choice to make shortcuts from your cities to the mountaintop, or leave the road to be long. Once you get to the top, the sides open and a stream of mythicals starts to pour out. You can try to fortify both entrances, but since China has few heroes it's hard to split them evenly between the two roads and for them to remain effective. It's a pretty mechanically epic ending, with thankfully no stupid ties to the Trident campaign. The yin-yang balance was restored by someone who created it in the first place. Now this is how you do a campaign. It still has its problems, and people say the release was bugged. But playing today, it is proper superior to the Pillars, and is less bugged.
I say, good show. Good show. What?
Age of Mythology, Retold, Arena of the Gods.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by
node roguelites.
Space!
It's a free patch adding a fake non-campaign into the game. You play boring skirmishes, get bonuses for them, equip the bonuses to play more repetitive skirmishes. The progression is node-based roguelite, so you can't save in-game. There are 2 pages of nodes each having a stupid gimmick, so, if you've played skirmishes in the original game or in the EE, you already saw these non-generated maps more times than you would want. And I already played extensive amounts of skirmish games in the CD, in the EE versions, and then also in R. On release this new mode was absolute cancer. The easy difficulty was proper brain-dead easy. Hard was plain easy on the first page, but then on the second page you get very fair matches like 1v3 or 1v1v1v1 where the AIs gang up on you. On easy it was still brain-dead easy, but on the difficulty just one step above easy it was nearly impossible. AIs were cheating and cooperating and just annihilating you with a combined force before you get even a couple of peasants. Playing the second page on hard on release was female circumcision and foot binding combined. Solo you play alone versus 3, but if you cry for help, inviting other players, you will be 2 versus 4. And now 4 AIs will target one of the players with combined force. This was properly unwinnable. Some top-tier players did solo the maps on hard, so one offered to carry me. On a 2v3 I was instantly wiped and was running around with just one hero while my co-op partner won the map. But when we reached the 2v4 map they could do nothing. One time I was instantly wiped. Another time I've got a decent army and still got wiped. Wiped. Sweat tier players managed to complete both pages on hard, but it was impossible for me. And playing on easy was pointless. I couldn't get all the achievements, so why even bother with a terrible garbage skirmish mode where AI idles inside its base? But it seems they've patched it. I finally finished every node on hard, with a few restarts. The easy difficulty AI now tries to actually attack, while the hard AI doesn't cheat and doesn't zerg rush you by ganging up on you. When playing 1v3 the AIs don't have everything researched anymore, and do not rush you with fully upgraded endgame units. And they first give you a bit of time to build up, then attack one by one, then in pairs. And by that time, you should already have an army. With some challenge and with the achievement being possible to me, I did everything, and I don't hate this bad free game mode anymore. It's still boring skirmishes though. The stupid uncampaign doesn't work half the time, because it wants internet connection, but not any internet connection, some specific internet connection. In single player, if Steam is working and there's enough internet for everything else, the hell is this new mode offline? And there are no saves. If it drops the connection in the middle of a long map, you have to start anew. Or how about you finishing a node, and the game forgetting to mark it as finished? Online only is cancer and it has no place in single player. This not campaign has something like a story, which is just a VN with no movies, and it sucks turbo balls. The second time they are making something of their own, and the second time they leech off the original game made by professionals. You play as Castor who instead of performing his duties has time to play. You start in a dream, and maybe you never stop dreaming. So all of this terrible crap was meaningless. On your first night out of 1001, Gaia starts talking to you about the dream of the Arcantos invaded by Athena. And Gaia is none of those people and was never present there. The voice acting is the same terrible blackface performances with fake terrible accents. And now they replaced the cool Titan's voice with a generic chick acting with a bad fake, made-up accent and a slight filtry.
Great and terrible things are afoot, Castor.
I liked the new design for Gaia, but now it's paired with the terrible voice acting. People justify hating the new design by pointing out all her old depictions are Botticelli tier. Well, the new design sure doesn't gel with this new terrible voice acting. The whole story is just a meaningless pile of nonsense and crystal N-methylcringeamphetamine. The new unit AI is even worse than it was. Now the units don't even attack. Like, you send your ranged dudes to attack, and 60% of them just stand in the back lines idling. No matter how many times you click, they refuse to attack. They will be just standing behind the first row doing nothing, while being shot at from a castle. Damn, give me back AOEDEAI. I'd take that over this. The new achievements operate on some stupid made-up lingo. What's a gate? What's an episode? Basically, they just want you to finish every node on hard, and the rest will mostly complete itself. So far, all these new devs can add to the game, without copying it from the original, is crap.